Right, okay, thank you. Welcome to today's meeting, members. Got a couple of notices here. I'll begin by saying there'll be a period of silence or remembrance at 11 o'clock today. We may halt the meeting prior to this. We'll let you know when we're going to stop, okay? I've also had a request. I've been asked to give a mention to Year 12 politics students at Gosforth Academy who are or might be watching this meeting on YouTube. If you are there, welcome. Yeah. This meeting is being live streamed over YouTube, so welcome also to those who are tuning in. The agenda and papers for this meeting have been circulated in advance of this meeting and are available on the Council's website. The role of this meeting is to consider the planning applications that are going to be presented today, to debate them and hopefully determine them. By way of housekeeping, can I ask all who are in this meeting to keep your microphone on mute during the presentation and discussion, and indicate that you want to speak by using the raise your hand function. However, if you can't use raise your hand function, do speak up, because it's important that everybody has to say it and everybody gets as much information as they possibly can. I will call on you to speak in turn. Can I remind you that unless you switch your video off, you'll be visible in the meeting display. Firstly, I'll ask the officers who will be presenting information to introduce themselves. If during the meeting any members of the committee wish to speak or ask a question, can I also ask you to introduce yourself at that point? I'm Councillor Bob Goldsworthy, and I'm chairing the meeting today.
Hi, I'm Councillor Michael Hood and I'm the Vice Chair.
Brendan?
Morning everyone, I'm Brendan McNeely, Legal Manager at Gateshead Council, providing legal support to the meeting.
Emma?
Morning Chair, my name is Emma Lucas. I'm a Development Manager here at Gateshead Council. I'll be presenting the planning case.
Okay, thank you. We have speakers today, so I'll explain the speaking process. We'll consider the applications with speakers first. There's only one. For those who are registered to speak, I will call on you in turn after the officer has given their presentation and answered any questions from the members of the committee. You will each be able to speak for 4 minutes. Members of the committee may want to ask you questions after you have spoken. Can I ask you to mute your microphone unless I have called on you to speak and after you have spoken? If you speak out of turn, you can mute your microphone or remove you from the meeting. I'm now going to the agenda. First agenda item is apologies for absence. These will have been forwarded to the admin officer and recorded. Do you approve the minutes of the last meeting?
Approved.
Okay.
Approved.
Declarations of interest. I have none. But if anybody feels that they need to declare an interest as we progress, speak up. Yeah.
Councillor Ferdinand here, just to confirm, I had submitted my apologies, but I can now attend, so just could them sort of record that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Any declarations? If you have any, do feel that you have an interest, speak up. I'll consult with Brendan and we'll reach a decision on how to proceed. We have had agenda items for information only. The reports back include 4 reports for your information about enforcement, appeals and planning obligations. Okay, so we can now go on to the main agenda. Emma, are you ready to present?
Thank you, Chair. I will just bring up the PowerPoint. Hopefully you can see slide number 1. on the screen now. Before I start, I'd like to bring your attention to the update report, which has been distributed earlier. This provides clarification of the information on the road safety audit, on further security measures, and the full wording of the 66 conditions outlined in the main agenda report. It also suggests a further 10 conditions, and these relate to details and implementation of signage, review and implementation of waiting restrictions to manage drop-off and pick-up traffic, detailed design and implementation of hostile vehicle mitigation measures on both Hawkes Road and South Shore Road, that the car park must be operational, that the multi-storey car park must be operational prior to commencement of the use of the arena and the conference centre, and the development must be carried out in accordance with the coal drops mitigation measures document. Okay, in summary, this application is for an indoor events arena, conference and exhibition centre, a dual branded hotel, retail and food outlets, an outside performance square with landscaping, public realm and infrastructure works. The recommendation is to grant, subject to a referral to the Secretary of State for decision as to whether to call the application in. The application site is approximately 5.3 hectares, located in the heart of the Gateshead Quays area. It's outlined in red on the slide there, so you can get your bearings as to where it sits. The site is located immediately to the south of the River Tyne and the Millennium Bridge, and south of the HMS Calliope Navy training base. If I can get my pen working. So this building here is the HMS Calliope Navy training base. South Shore Road runs through the northern part of the site, which is this road running through here. It's bound to the west by the Grade 2 listed coal drops, which are located here underneath the car park, by the Sage Gateshead and by the railway line. To the south, it's bound by Hawkes Road, and this is Gateshead College behind on the other side of Hawkes Road, and to the east by Mill Road, which comes down the side here, and the Baltic Quays residential apartments. Within the site is Baltic Square at the front, with steps up to South Shore Road, 2 levels of car parking accessed off South Shore Road. Above that, at a higher level, is with a retaining wall across the site, and this is Mill Road car park, which is accessed from Mill Road and is surrounded by green space, part of which forms Performance Square, which is here. Beyond that, and in the southernmost part of the site, is former vacant industrial land where buildings were demolished a number of years ago. There's a 25-metre increase in site grades from the north to the south of the site, and this results in a series of plateaus with a significant retaining wall across the centre of the site between the upper and lower car parks. I know a number of you have had a look around the site. I've sent some information last week to help you get your bearings as you look around the site on your own. But I've got some photographs as a reminder of the area. So this photograph here shows the site when viewed from the Newcastle side of the river. You can see the Millennium Bridge, the Baltic Quays Flats, Baltic Square, and the majority of the site is behind Calliope, Performance Square, and obviously the Sage. And you can just see peeking up above is the Gateshead College corner sticking out there. This is from further Newcastle side again, further along the Newcastle side, pretty much underneath the Tyne Bridge at this point, but it shows the setting that the site sits within with the buildings surrounding it. We've now moved over onto the Gateshead side, so we're on South Shore Road, Performance Square, and the Sage just off the photograph to the left. You can see how high the Sage is actually above the South Shore Road level. And you can start to see the levels of the car park stepping up the slope here. This building here is the car park for the apartments, and obviously the apartments beyond. So we've moved along South Shore Road slightly to get a closer view of the apartments, the car park block, and the retaining wall. So moving around the corner onto Mill Road, so looking up Mill Road, you can see Gateshead College in the distance with the corner point. These here are Baltic Quay flats. The access into the Mill Road car park is off this point. You can see here, this is an office block on Baltic Quarter, which has since this photograph's been completed. And in this corner here, you can't quite see, is a site which has had permission for a 20-storey apart hotel block. So moving up Mill Road and looking back down towards the river, again, you can see the Baltic Quay apartments, the access into the Mill Road car park. There's a hotel on this side of the road, and this is the site for the 20-storey apartment hotel. We've moved around the corner onto Quarryfield Road, looking down at the site. You've got obviously the college on your left-hand side, and the site runs along this boundary and down here. Baltic Quay apartments visible too. Moving further along Hawks Road, we're actually underneath the railway bridge, looking back towards the site. This is the western corner of the site here. Gateshead College, the apartments. Down to the left here is a walkway through called Maiden Walk, leading to the coal drops and to the back of the Sage and Performance Square. And this is the same view from the other side of the road, looking at the site here and the walkway down. This is from within the upper part of the site, from the former industrial land, and it gives a better view of the listed coal drops. These are the listed coal drops here, and these are some railway arches, and the line of the fence there shows the line of the footpath running through. You can just about make out the Sage as well coming into view. That's a closer view of the walkway. And at the end of the walkway, oh, sorry, I'm getting some reverb there. At the end of the walkway, it comes out at this point here, you've got the entrance to, the lift entrance to the upper car park behind the Sage. You've obviously got the Sage building, and then you come round into what is currently Performance Square. Going down onto the Mill Road car park itself, I think this image shows the relationship between the current car parking site and the apartments. The boundary of the site is the fence that runs down the side and the gable of the property. Another view of the apartments and the relationship to the car parking at the moment. Okay, so the application lies within the Gateshead Newcastle Urban Core and is subject to policy CS1, which is the spatial strategy for sustainable growth of the core strategy. And this prioritises the urban core as the location for major leisure, culture and tourism development. More specifically, policy QB2 identifies the wider area outlined in the top left plan, outlined in red. The wider area under QB2 is identified as being for mixed use development, including leisure, conferencing facilities, hotel and ancillary retail uses. The application site is also subject to the Gateshead Quays development framework, as shown in the bottom left image, and this requires any development of plot QB2 plot A, which is the site under question today, to complete the river frontage, address the Hawks Road and Mill Road, and have a positive relationship with the coal drops. So the detail of the proposal. I think this image shows quite clearly it is a very complicated site with lots of different levels. So to try and simplify that, I've included this image, but I've got others coming as well. The area marked 1 on this plan is where it's proposed to have an indoor events arena. This would be for large-scale entertainment events with a total capacity of 12,500 and would replace the existing Newcastle Arena. As well as the event space itself, the arena includes an arrival atrium, changing areas, medical rooms, office space, food and retail concessions, restaurants, executive suites and box office, all the things you commonly have within an arena complex. The building would be designed with a mix of brick and metal panels, which I'll show you in CGI images later. Service access to this part of the building is at the southern end from Hawks Road, covered by raised pedestrian podium level. You can just see it on this, and I've got other images later that show it, but it's basically around the back of the site here, and I'll show you that in other images. To the front of this building is a building for a conference and exhibition centre marked with 2 on the plan. This would be capable of hosting exhibitions, conferences and sporting events, and would have 3 exhibition halls with movable acoustic partitions, 6 large meeting rooms, 7 small to medium meeting rooms and a boardroom suite. The 3 exhibition halls could be combined to one large space to provide a standing concert with a capacity of up to 7,500 people. Materials are slightly different on this building. There would be precast concrete, corten steel panels and glass. The Galleria, which is this side of the building, would front onto the public realm and would be made of brick, metal panels, glass and slate. Vehicular access for loading and servicing of this part of the building would be provided to the rear of the exhibition halls to an access area, service yard, off the existing Mill Road access, which currently serves the car park. And I'll show you that in images later on as well. Number 3 on the plan is 973 square metres of retail and leisure floor space, so restaurants and retail, cafes and retail, proposed to supplement and support the wider development, and this has active frontages onto South Shore Road. And the area shown as number 4 is a hotel development, which would be a mixture of mixed brand and premium brand rooms above front of house areas and retail space. The hotel includes direct connection through into the conference and exhibition centre. The premium hotel would be the part that fronts towards the River Tyne and would be 13 stories high. The other hotel is accommodated with the lower building towards the rear and would be 7 stories high. This hotel or this hotel development would deliver up to 330 bedroom spaces. At the top of the hotel would include an enclosed sky bar restaurant, which is designed in a lightweight glazed addition to the top of the building. Also included is an element of public realm surrounding the whole site, a linear park linking the Millennium Bridge up through to Hawks Road in this way, with street furniture, landscaping and trees. So from South Shore Road, you would come up 2 external stepped accesses to access Performance Square to the west of the site. You'd have a separate access up the side of the hotel as well, up to Mill Road. And these would enable access through an expanded walkway through past the coal drops onto Hawks Road at the rear. Performance Square itself would be enlarged and revised and is intended to link the conference and exhibition centre through the arena and through to the Sage Gateshead. The Performance Square would also link through to the coal drops and Hawks Road through to the town centre and Baltic Water beyond that. A podium walk is also proposed as an elevated area of the public realm located over the service area, the arena service yard in this location. This enables pedestrian permeability throughout the site and would have landscaping on it as well. So I've now got a series of images, layout plans to show the different things that are happening on different levels. So obviously this is the lowest level onto South Shore Road, where the retail and the entrance, the lower level entrance to the conference centre would be. At level 3 is where the conference and exhibition centre floor level sits. And then up again to the level for the arena. So that steps on those plateaus, stepping up the site. This slide shows in more detail the landscaping in an external public realm proposed. So you can see the walkway up the steps to the new performance square, linking through into Sage and behind Sage and up to the car park behind Sage, down the side of the coal drops and round the arena, down the side of the hotel and back onto South Shore Road. You can also see here on this plan that there are areas added for security measures, including bollards and security gates for when there is a significant event to protect pedestrians during exiting the site. I now have a series of CGIs which maybe give a clearer idea of how this all fits together into the development. So this elevation is the view from obviously the other side of the river from Newcastle. It shows the hotel, the active retail and entrance at the front, the conference and exhibition area above with the galleria linking space. And you can't quite see in this image, but behind it is the arena. This image is further round and it kind of shows a little bit more. It's an elevated level. It shows a bit more the way the levels have been used. So South Shore Road at the front, coming up the external steps to a revised performance square. And now you can see where the arena would sit behind the conference centre. That's the same image shown at night. And this is an image depicting what it would look like within the performance square area. You can obviously see the Sage to the left, performance square, the conference and exhibition centre behind, and this is the entrance into the arena. And this is the view from Hawks Road. Obviously, you can see the walkway down the side leading into Maiden's Walk coal drops. The entrance, and this is the arena building. The council considers that this development is environmental impact assessment development and has been submitted with an environmental statement which includes chapters relating to townscape and views, transport and accessibility, air quality, noise and vibration, socioeconomics, built heritage, archaeology, water resources and flood risk, ground conditions, soils and contamination, ecology and nature conservation, wind environment, daylight, sunlight and overshadowing, climate change and resilience, health and well-being, and waste and recycling. As you'd expect with an application of this scale, significant rounds of neighbour notifications and consultation have been carried out. The first round was in April and the second in September. In addition, the MP Ian Mearns has been briefed throughout the application process. Throughout the 2 rounds of consultation, we've had 29 letters of support received in respect of the application from a variety of different areas, residents, businesses, industry professionals, and the reasons for supporting it are outlined there, but generally see the benefit of a scheme of this nature and the benefits to Gateshead and to the region. In addition, we've had 154 letters of objection to the application, which are summarised in the report and on screen, but many of these have been received from neighbouring residents and owners of the Baltic Quay flats. Concerns raised are that the hotel is too big and will raise significant residential amenity concerns for residents, including overshadowing, loss of light, overlooking and loss of privacy. That the design of the hotel building is out of character with the area and does not reflect the conservation area, the Tyne Gorge study, and would be an overdevelopment of the site. That neighbouring residents would suffer a loss of view, that neighbouring residents would suffer a loss of value to their properties, noise and disturbance during both construction and operational stage from service yards and deliveries and antisocial behaviour, that there would be light intrusion, that there'd be increased traffic on already congested roads, there would be reduced parking, would be at odds with the clean air zone plans and would create air quality issues. It's a poor location for the development. It's not needed at this scale. It would be better as a park or a public green space. It would increase the risk of terrorist attacks, and that the landscaping and design is inadequate. So to move to the assessment of the proposal, the main planning issues considered are the principle of the development, transport highway safety, air quality, security, design, residential amenity, landscaping, heritage, ecology, drainage, contaminated land and coal mining legacy. These are all covered in detail in the report, but I will go into a little bit more detail on some of these issues where concerns have been raised. So in terms of the principle, the application site, as I've already said, is in the urban core within the Quays and Baltic sub-area. So policies CS1, CS2, CS5, CS8 and UC3 all promote development that strengthen the provision of leisure, cultural and tourism destinations in the urban core to create a more prosperous economy. As required by CS2, the core strategy of the core strategy, a development framework was adopted last year, which provides an approved master plan to set out how this key site, including 3 plot areas within the wider Quays area. So the approved master plan sets out how the key site could be developed with a comprehensive and coordinated approach to site development and infrastructure provision. The application site forms plot A, which is the larger orange area shown on the bottom left-hand plan. This framework identified that plot A provides an opportunity to deliver larger footprint uses such as leisure and cultural landmarks. Policy QB2 is shown on the right there for you, but this is split into 2 main parts. Part 1 allocates the site for mixed use development, and the proposed application complies with the allocated uses, namely the leisure and conferencing facilities, the hotel and the ancillary retail uses. Part 2 of the policy sets out 11 criteria against which to assess the application. I don't really intend to go through each one, but it's considered that the proposed development complies with these criteria. It provides new public spaces, green infrastructure corridor, landscape public realm and pedestrian routes through the site and linking to the surroundings and into the wider area, to the Baltic Quarter, to the town centre and the rest of the quays. It also provides surface water management through the use of SUDS features incorporated within the landscaping, through green roofs and controlled outflow into the river. And the development of new public car parking that's required under this policy is to be provided with the multi-storey car park that has been approved at previous committees. So moving on to the more detailed considerations of the development, the most significant consideration for any development of this scale is its highway and transport impacts. There would be significant predicted growth in travel demands associated with this development. As such, the application includes a transport assessment and an addendum transport assessment as part of the environmental statement. These provide details of the predicted demand in several different scenarios covering different types of events which could operate at the development. These 3 key demand scenarios have been modelled as part of the assessment. The first is a typical operation of up to 1,500 attendees at the consumer exhibition during the daytime. The second would be a major event where you'd have 12,500 attendees at the arena, plus 500 attendees at a banquet at the Conference and Exhibition Centre into the evening. And then a matinee event where 2 consecutive family shows at the arena, each with 3,200 attendees. Under each of these scenarios, it's been assumed that 70% of people would travel by car, and this is considered by our transport colleagues to be a high assumption to give a worst case scenario. However, given the high numbers of visitors involved, even with a 70% travel by car, there would be a significant level of non-car trips that would still occur and may still involve a combination of both car and non-car use, because there'll be an element of walking to any car parks that would be used. It is considered that there's sufficient car parking provision available within a 20-minute walk of the development for major events and a 10-minute walk for the smaller events. With this number of likely pedestrian trips, the infrastructure for pedestrians is a major consideration. The assessments submitted with the application have provided a significant amount of detail, particularly related to the public transport demand and pedestrian flows. An assessment of pedestrian walking routes has been undertaken, and a number of pedestrian improvement measures has been identified that would ensure that pedestrians can leave the development and cross local junctions in large numbers safely. And these are shown on the slide here in front of you, and include temporary road closures adjacent to the development site on South Shore Road and Hawkes Road at the end of very major events, review of the layout and signal timings and crossings at various roads in the area, implementation of a super crossing on Hawkes Road to allow a large number of pedestrians to cross the road safely, increased footway widths on the north side of Hawkes Road, and signage and waymarking to direct pedestrians between the development site and Gateshead Town Centre, the interchange, as well as through the site and to and from car parks. For vehicle movements, the model assesses an area that extends from the Gateshead Highway to Park Lane, through to Albany Road and down to Salt Meadows Road, and includes key junctions at East Gateshead, Oaklegate, Hawkes Road, Quarryfield Road and Mill Road, Quarryfield and Abbots Hill, Park Lane, Albany Road, Albany Road and Quarryfield Road, Albany Road with Salt Meadows Road and other minor development priority junction access onto the network. The model shows that with the developments operational under typical operational conditions, there's only a marginal impact on the highway performance in the morning peak, so no additional mitigation is required. It shows a greater impact in the evening peak, particularly during the 5 till 6 rush hour, when background congestion is at its greatest. As such, mitigation is suggested to reduce this impact, to optimise traffic signals, to change the Albany Road Park Lane junction to replace the existing double left turn with a double right turn, and directing eastbound traffic leaving the car park, the multi-storey car park, along Salt Meadows Road. These pedestrian and highway improvements are recommended to be secured by condition, along with further conditions relating to coach parking, taxi provision, drop-off pickup arrangements, cycle parking, cycle channels on the steps, localised improvement to bus stops, a shuttle bus to the town centre, travel planning, pedestrian security measures. The discharge and ongoing discussions on these transport conditions will, where applicable, be discussed with Newcastle City Council and other statutory consultees and form part of the ongoing discussions with Newcastle on planning and transport issues in our shared urban core. During a major event, demand shows a significant increase in delay. This would largely be due to the 1,000 vehicles leaving to the multi-storey car park at one time following the end of an event. This would result in localised delay and queuing traffic wishing to leave the immediate area. Such major events where parking demand will be at a maximum are expected to occur only between 24 and 50 times a year, and it's suggested that a degree of delay when leaving such events is to be expected. Moving on to servicing, the arena would have a separate covered servicing point accessed from the Hawkes Road Mill Road junction in a one-way system. So if you can get your bearings, this is Hawkes Road here, and it's at the junction down onto Mill Road as it goes down here. So there would be an in point here and an out point here, with the servicing area being this area here. Servicing of the conference and exhibition centre and the hotel would be via the existing Mill Road access to the hotel. And you can see this is the Mill Road access as it comes in. There would be a gated service area for the conference and exhibition centre here, and this is shown in detail on this plan here. There would also be a service entrance for the hotel at this point. Overall, it's considered that with a service management plan for each of these uses required by conditions, these arrangements would be appropriate. Moving on to design. The design of the scheme has been through several different formats as the scheme has evolved. The site is particularly constrained given the significant levels of difference across the site, the limited access points, the historical and iconic buildings on all of its boundaries, the public realm requirements, the adjacent flats, and its iconic location on our world-famous quayside. The design teams on both the council and the applicant side have worked together on this project to consider the best way to address these constraints to produce a high quality and distinctive design solution that respects its context and suitable for such a prominent location. It's considered the design of the buildings brings a strong and distinctive character to the built form, highlighted by the landscaped areas in the public realm and the routes around the site. The materials are high quality and have a durability, character and appearance that echoes the site's industrial heritage. Concern has been raised by objectors about the scale and mass of the hotel and that they consider that the design does not work with the topography of the site, making it more prominent. Objectors also refer to the Tyne Gorge study, or to give it its proper title, the Urban Landscape Study of the Tyne Gorge. Whilst the Tyne Gorge study is still helpful to inform the consideration of proposals, it's considered to be slightly outdated in places due to changes in national and local policy and various developments that have been delivered in the Tyne Gorge since it was produced in 2003. For example, the study actually notes that the Sage and Baltic Quay flats were under construction at the time. The Tyne Gorge study divides the riverside into different character areas and sets out some of the main principles for development in each area. The application site is located within an area identified as 3E, where the study does not prohibit development of tall buildings and actually identifies this site as a site that is suitable for future development. There are already examples of tall buildings within this part of the Tyne Gorge, such as Sage, Gateshead, the Baltic Quay flats, and the recently approved 20-storey hotel and service department scheme on Mill Road. And this would be significantly taller than all of the buildings proposed under this application. The more recently approved development framework for the wider Quays Quay site sets out the main design principles for the area in a more up-to-date way. So on balance, take into account the design and materials proposed to be used in the hotel, its proximity to other tall buildings and the other examples of tall buildings in the area. It is considered that the positive aspects of the hotel's design outweigh the concerns raised. The hotel is an integral part of the scheme, and without it, the scheme would not be deliverable due to the fact that in order to attract conferences, there needs to be a linked connection between the conference centre and a hotel of sufficient capacity to host the attendees. The design and materials proposed are considered to be acceptable and of high quality, which should result in a development that is sympathetic to its neighbours and thus, with appropriate conditions, would be in accordance with national and local policy. Moving on to heritage, the slide in front of you here is an extract from the development framework, and it shows how the site sits within its historic context. The pinkish shaded area shows the British Conservation Area. The red stars are listed buildings and the yellow areas are heritage landmark buildings and sites. As such, careful consideration has been given to the impact that the development would have on this historic area. The regeneration of the derelict industrial site with 2 surface car parks would have a positive impact on the setting of the British Conservation Area and would not harm the significance or setting of the listed St Mary's Church, the Tyne Bridge, the Coal Drops or any other designated or non-designated heritage assets in the area. The taller element of the proposed development, the hotel, is a prominent element of the scheme. It has been located in the eastern end of the site, away from the listed buildings and conservation area, and amongst other tall buildings such as the Baltic Flour Mill, the Baltic Quay flats, and the 20-storey hotel and service department scheme on Mill Road. and as such it's considered to be more in keeping within this locality. It is considered that the site layout and appearance of the proposed buildings works well to form a quality and distinctive design that respects its historic context in this prominent location, set amongst these recognised landmarks. So moving on to concerns raised about residential amenity. This is one of the main concerns raised by objectors relating to the size and location of the proposed hotel in relation to the neighbouring residential properties on Gateshead Quay apartments, and the impact it would have on their residential amenity. The environmental statement included a chapter considering the daylight, sunlight and overshadowing impacts of the development. In addition, the council has sought its own independent review of the methodology of this assessment. The overhead slide shows the location of the flats arranged in a curving wave-like formation adjacent to the eastern boundary of the site. Slide 41 shows the relationship of the hotel in detail to the flats with the landscaped walkway between. The distance of any facing windows at the closest point would be 14.5 metres. Slide 42 shows the northern elevation of the proposed hotel onto South Shore Road. You'll see at ground floor level, get my here is the entrance to one of the hotels directly from South Shore Road. This element of the hotel will be 13 stories high. This is the southern elevation of the proposed hotel and would show the second entrance into the hotel, located here. And this element in grey would be 7 stories high, but you can see the 13-storey part behind in green. This is the side elevation of the hotel facing east towards the Baltic Quay flats, and this shows the levels difference between the front and back of the site and how that's been used. Slide 44, I've tried to show the floor plans of the hotel as it comes up the slope of the site. The left image is the floor plan at South Shore Road level. Obviously, the rest of the grey area is the hill behind. This would form the entrance to one of the hotels. The middle image shows the ground level when accessed from the south, from the Mill Road access point. It would be level 3 from South Shore Road. And the plan on the right shows the hotel accommodation for both hotels at level 7, with the green area not being there. There's only the blue area that goes up beyond that to the 13th floor. Slide 46 shows photographs of the flats. Block 1 is the block that's closest to the site. You'll see on this image there's a buff coloured block which is 7 stories high and has 1 flat on each floor. The windows in this block are oblique to the site. They face north and south, with the north being bedrooms and the south being living kitchen area. The white block is higher and set further away from the application boundary and has separate flats to the block in the buff area, with the main living space looking out to the north towards the river. And this slide gives an image of how those rooms are located. So the area I've said is the buff block, is this here, with bedrooms at the rear with windows and living accommodation to the front, a bedroom to the side of the other flats within the white block of the building, with living at the front overlooking the river. Slide 48. This kind of shows that in detail where the windows are located on this property. There are windows facing towards the site and at an angle facing onto windows of the adjacent flats in the buff block. So there is an existing degree of mutual overlooking. The long strip of windows here are a secondary living room window. And the other line of windows are to a bathroom and the angled window to a second bedroom. You can also see in these photos that the orientation means that these windows do experience overshadowing already. The separation distance between these windows and the hotel would be 14.5 metres at the closest point. This is considered to be appropriate in the urban core riverfront location, where higher density and lower separation distances can be expected than a more suburban location. This also reflects the typical arrangements in the rest of the Baltic Quays flats. Slides 49 and 50, the next one, show the various southern-facing elevations of the flats, none of which have windows which directly face towards the site. They're all at various angles. And slide 51 is a CGI of the hotel from the south in relation to those apartments. The submitted daylight and sunlight assessment and supplement have been undertaken in accordance with the Building Research Establishment BRE guidelines. These have two main methods of assessing the impacts of a development on daylight. 188 windows serving 107 rooms within the Baltic Quays apartments blocks have been assessed for daylight and 83 windows assessed for sunlight. These assessments did identify that some of these windows would be affected, with the effects identified as moderate adverse in nature, which are not considered to be significant given the context of the site in an urban core location. The Council has also undertaken a review of the methodology, as asked Hollis Global to undertake an independent review. They performed a critical assessment of the methodology used in completing this assessment and have confirmed that it is appropriately structured and follows best practice. In addition, the applicant has undertaken further scenario testing, exploring two alternative scenarios to ascertain whether they would assist in improving the daylight and sunlight levels in the flats. The scenarios included moving the hotel building 25 metres southwards, and also keeping the hotel in its existing position but removing the top floor from the scheme. The first option, to move the hotel, would result in a significantly greater impact on the Baltic Quays flats. It would be moving south of the flats and would increase significantly the impact on the southerly aspect kitchen and bedrooms windows of those apartments. Therefore, it's considered that leaving the hotel in its current location has a lesser impact in terms of loss of light. Keeping the hotel in its current location and removing the top floor made no discernible improvement to the daylight and sunlight results. Therefore, it's not considered beneficial to require removal of the top floor from the scheme. The NPPF and NPPG guidance on high-rise buildings suggests that planning authorities should balance the impacts of a development against the design and height requirements of existing buildings of an area. In this urban core location, higher buildings are expected to fit into the character of the area. In such cases, a greater degree of mutual impact on light or outlook would be acceptable than in a more suburban or rural location. It is therefore considered that the location and design of the hotel and accepting the moderate impact on neighbouring properties identified in the assessments would on balance be appropriate. Objectors have also raised concerns about loss of private views from residential properties and loss of property value. As discussed in previous committees, neither of these issues are considered to be material in the consideration of a planning application and therefore cannot be given weight when reaching a decision. Other material considerations are covered in the report and are considered to be acceptable or could be made so through the use of conditions. So to conclude, officers have given careful consideration to the impacts of this application and assessed all of the environmental information contained within the environmental statement submitted with the application. Whilst the development of this scale would have an impact on the highway network and on residential amenity, officers are satisfied that these impacts have been mitigated as far as reasonably possible or can be mitigated through the use of conditions as set out in the reports. The proposals would continue to drive forward the continued regeneration of Gateshead Quays area by developing this vacant site. The economic benefits that this development would bring to Gateshead and the wider region would be significant, bringing both business and leisure tourism to the area, along with jobs and investment both directly and indirectly during both the construction and operation of the development. It's considered the proposal complies with national and local planning policy, and as such, the recommendation is to grant planning permission subject to the conditions listed in the update report and subject to referral to the Secretary of State. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Emma, for a detailed presentation. Thank you very much. I've got two speakers. I'll take John McCrory first.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Emma, for a comprehensive report. 3 questions. First one, I can't find where it says how tall the hotel is compared to the Sage. You know, is it as tall, taller? Is it going to be dominant? Second one is, we had the pre-application presentation quite some time ago. Must be a long time ago because we were all there. Has anything significant changed since then so that we need to sort of consider it differently? And the other one is condition 75. It says that the arena, etc., can't be used until the car park is complete, that we agreed at the recent planning committee. The only concern I'd have about that is the fact that, you know, if it's in the hands of a different developer, it could cause some conflict. If it's not complete, you know, essentially holding the arena to hostage if they don't sort of cough in some money to help complete it or something. And I'll be a little bit concerned about having that unless it's a condition that can be addressed if we have problems at a later date. And that's my 3 points. Thank you.
Emma?
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and find an image that compares it to the Sage for you, if you like. In terms of the question on the car park, obviously the council has control over the car park. We're building that car park, so we're in control of the timescales for it, and we're working very closely with the applicant to make sure that it is delivered in time for the opening of the arena. The plan is that the car park would be available in August 22, and the construction of the arena is due 23, so it should be enough time. Sorry, I missed your middle question. There was another question.
No, there was 3 questions. You've addressed 2. The other one was none of the images sort of showed the corner of the Sage rather than the entire, you know what the maximum height of the Sage is. I've got my hand held up here, as to where the 13-story hotel is. So that was really just so, you know, to see whether it sort of balanced themselves. And I'll also apologise about the planning, because I did actually miss that planning committee about the car park, or I knew about it, and I hadn't realised the council were developing it. So, right.
Yeah, it's okay, John. Yeah, it's fine, John.
If you bear with me, I'll try and get...
I've got you as well, Lynn, but we may have to come back after the silence, if you don't mind. Okay?
That's fine, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to move on, I can come back and we can have a look at that. If Emma can find an image at a later time, or before we make our decision. It's not critical.
I'm just thinking that there's about 5 minutes to go, so if anybody wants to take a comfort break, and we'll come back after the 2-minute silence. That'd be okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Emma, yeah. I don't know. Okay. Take a comfort break, members, and we'll resume after the 2-minute silence. Okay. Can I answer Councillor McCready's questions or?
I can. I remembered what the middle question was. Has there been any changes since the pre-app presentation? Not significantly, no. And I have an image which I can share with you. Which shows the context in a little wider. Can you see that image?
No.
No.
Not yet, no. We're on page 1.
Sorry, I made a slide, so it's not.
Can we come back to it later, do you think? John, would you be
Yeah,
happy
okay.
to come back later? John?
Yeah, I'll be happy to come back later.
Okay,
certainly
thank you.
just 'cause
Oh, my
I'm
Teams
curious.
is switched off.
Okay.
My Teams
So,
is crashed.
my laptop as well. I've just gone on to. Okay.
No, it's all right. Get on here, but.
I've just gone on to one right there of the web and the laptop. Looking for any messages.
are you okay? Emma, are you okay to carry on?
I wish I could hear him.
Can we carry on, Emma? Can't hear, can't you?
Apologies, Chair. I'm having technical issues. I've had to join on my iPad briefly.
Okay.
Did you see that image at all?
No. Emma, just carry on. We'll carry on with
Okay,
that.
I'll take other questions and hopefully it'll come back.
We'll carry on with some other questions. If we can, we can come back to that. Okay.
Okay.
Are you happy with that, John? Yeah. Yes.
Yes, Chair, thank you. Just smooth progress with the meeting. Thank you.
Lynn Caffrey, Councillor Caffrey.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a few questions for Emma. Most of them are minor ones, but I've got quite a major one, I think, as well. Can I just say in relation to John's question about the height, having done the site visit that Emma thoughtfully laid out for us, and tried to visualise what the hotel would be like in relationship to the overall size of the space, I think the Sage will still be higher, John. I think that end of the site, the Sage will still be higher than the hotel will. But that was just my impression of it. And from looking on Google Earth as well and trying to get an idea of the height of the Sage now. But few things, Emma. The performance space. Am I right in thinking that we are going to lose the amphitheatre area, which is the grassed area behind the performance space where people tend to sit when there are performances going on? Because I think that would be a shame if we lost that area, because it is a popular sitting area and a popular area for people to use. The second one was about the 5182, which is about wind modelling. Because we all know with tall buildings, there is a tendency for us to get this Bernoulli Venturi effect, where the wind swirls around the base of them. I looked at the modelling and what it said about the report, but I couldn't see that actually there'd been any modelling done on the east side of the hotel. There'd been modelling done in the centre area and to the west and looking at the south, but I couldn't see where it said that there'd been any modelling done to the east. And obviously that's the area between the hotel and the flats. So I wondered if we could check out whether that actually has been done. And if not, we've got conditions in there about mitigation for that effect, that Venturi effect on the spaces. Could we actually extend it to all the perimeters of the buildings, so that we're very clear that we're not starting out with something that's going to cause a problem for people who live there already, but also for users of the buildings. I think one of the things about the images that have been shown us, and that this is meant to be an iconic development. I mean, you know, we have a lot of iconic buildings in Gateshead, the Sage being one of them. I was really surprised to see that the developers were branding it as the Newcastle Gateshead Quays. And I think, I mean, I will, if the agent is going to speak, then with the chair's permission, I will put that point to him.
Just leave off, yeah.
I think it's a little bit disingenuous of them to want to develop the Gateshead Quays. Whereas in actual fact, they're branding it as the Newcastle Gateshead Quays. So if the chair's all right, I'll make that point to him.
Yeah,
the major point I had, Emma, was about, as a council, we have a commitment to being carbon neutral by 2030. So where does this building, where do these buildings, where does this development fit into our carbon reduction plan, and what measures are we asking them to take to ensure that the complex is as near to carbon neutral as possible? Because I couldn't actually find it in the report. So that's the major point, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elaine. Emma?
Okay. Sorry, I've got an echo, so I'll try and talk through it. Going back to your first point, to Councillor McCleary's question, I'll try and show a slide at a later date, but the hotel, the main block of the hotel is the green clad part, is lower than the Sage. The glass element on the top is ever so slightly higher than the Sage. I'll try and have an image that shows that. Oh, it looks like Eleanor might be working her magic.
Do you want me to try and...
Okay.
Is that a slide?
It doesn't appear to be working. In terms of measurements, the hotel is 63.5 AOD above sea level. The Sage is 62. Okay.
Okay. Just take it off, Emma.
Okay. In terms of your other questions, the performance square, you are correct. The existing performance square would be replaced, but it would be replaced with a larger performance square area with more landscaping in it. which is considered to be a betterment to what's currently there. So you would still have space to sit out, to have performances and events happening within that space, with seating areas and so on.
Okay, next question. What was the other question? Carbon.
Branding. Planning process has no control over the branding of the building. So there will be applications for adverts coming through in the future, but we have no control over what it's called.
What was the other question then? You had another question?
Wind, the Bernoulli effect.
There has been a significant wind chapter within the environmental statement submitted. It has gone into a lot of detail. The reason it focuses on the west side of the site, that's the prevailing wind direction. Anybody who's been down on the other side of the Sage on a windy day will certainly experience the wind coming in from the west down the gorge. So that's the area that seems to be most in need of wind mitigation. The design of the landscaping, the design of the topography has been designed to include wind mitigation measures. So it's not considered there's anything additional required to protect wind from the east. Carbon neutral, a separate chapter in the environmental statement focused on climate change and resilience. So that has been considered as part of this application as far as possible. I think that's all the questions you had.
Okay. Can we move on now, Lynn, because we've got speakers? Are you okay?
Yes, Chair. I just wanted to say that I think we would be doing ourselves a disservice if we didn't ensure that this development actually met Gateshead's policy on climate change and carbon reduction. Thank you.
Okay. We'll take the first speaker. Peter Borkham. Hello, are you there?
Ah, yes, that's correct.
You've got 4 minutes. I'll let you know when you come in the last minute. You didn't have to wind up, but I'm just letting you know you've got a minute left, okay?
Okay.
So you've got 4 minutes from now, okay?
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the local community and residents of Baltic Quays, which comprises of over 500 residents, all of whom, like me, are concerned at the proposals before committee today. We are all immensely proud to live where we do, and we take great pride in telling everyone and anyone who will listen how special our local area is and how magnificent the building structures like the Baltic Flour Mill, Grade 1 listed St Mary's Church, the Grade 2 listed Town Bridge, and of course the Sage, which creates a unique and attractive environment of which we are all proud to call home. We're not naive enough to think that the area won't change. We also recognise that the development plan in principle permits the uses proposed. However, we want to make sure that we are relying on the committee to ensure that the future developments can be looked back on in 10, 15, 20, 25 years' time, where people can still say, wow, and be proud that they've had an involvement in such a positive decision, and also be proud to live in the area. 2020 has been unique, with people forced to spend more time at home due to the current pandemic, where it's critically important that the amenities currently afforded to residential properties are not adversely affected to a point which will detrimentally impact on people's health and well-being. More people will be working from home going forward. Our significant concern relates to the 13-storey hotel and its proximity and the impact on the amenities of residents of Baltic Quay apartments. The officer's report acknowledges that a number of apartments do not, as things stand, receive the minimum amount of daylight as prescribed in the BRE, and the hotel would make already a poor situation far worse. The hotel has been positioned in one of the most visible locations on the application site, It will dominate the locality and destroy the unique sense of place that currently exists. It is a bland and uninspiring piece of architecture and completely at odds with the rest of the proposal and the other buildings in the locality. Whilst committee members will no doubt know the site, we are firmly of the opinion that members need to undertake a site visit and indeed view the site from the Baltic Quay apartments to fully understand how the proposals will impact on the residents. We're also concerned that there are no proposed conditions relating to the hours of use and or the number of events to be held. Potentially, there could be 365 concerts a year, and with 12,500 people leaving the area each night, all in good spirits, there is a potential for significant amenity issues.
You're in your last minute now. Okay.
And we would ask committee to consider imposing a suitable worded condition to control the hours of operation and the number of events. As outlined, as outlined above, we are proud to call Gateshead Quays our home, and we are striving for excellence. To quote the article in The Guardian about the scheme, there is no excuse to see the waterfront desecrated with such mediocre fare. Enjoying the rare position of being a major landowner and having a recent history of commissioning brave building for arts, Gateshead Council must have the confidence to insist on better. We, the residents, therefore ask the committee to either deny planning for the development in its present application form or to defer the planning consent until the appropriate site visits and further investigations have taken place.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Any questions of the speaker? Anyone has any questions of the speaker? Okay. Can I move on to Harvey Ems? Yes?
I'm here, Chair.
Thank you. You've got 4 minutes as well. Okay. I'll let you know when you're coming to the last one as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning on behalf of the applicant, Ask Patrizia LLP. The detailed application before you today is the culmination of many years of progressive strategic planning from the council and nearly 4 years of effort from the design team to bring forward and deliver a world-class venue and landmark scheme for your consideration. This is a significant scheme, not just for Gateshead Council, but for the region as a whole. If approved, it will set the standard for comprehensive regeneration of Gateshead Quayside and be the catalyst to deliver the wider aspirations of the council, a Baltic business quarter and the exemplar neighbourhood. It will also facilitate improved accessibility to and drive footfall through Gateshead Town Centre, and at a time of real economic uncertainty, demonstrate clear commitment to invest and deliver a comprehensive scheme which will stand the test of time. Your officers have presented a detailed and balanced assessment of the scheme against policy, and you will carefully consider the committee report. It is a complex and well-considered proposal. We have submitted a detailed scheme with supporting evidence, including a comprehensive environmental assessment, covering topics such as transport and accessibility, air quality, noise, ecology, heritage, landscape and visual impact, socioeconomics, ground conditions, water and flood risk, health and well-being, climate change, wind and microclimate, daylight and sunlight and overshadowing of adjacent properties, and waste and recycling. We have consulted and met with the local community, surrounding businesses, statutory consultees and other agencies, and your professional officer team. We have listened to feedback and reviewed our scheme. We have made some changes and provided further detailed information for consideration in response to questions asked. We note there are no objections from statutory consultees. The proposals represent a major visitor destination and will bring about significant economic benefits for Gateshead. It is forecast that development will bring over 400,000 additional visitors to the region annually. It would equate to an additional spend of over £60 million per annum into the local economy. The development could directly support over 1,100 jobs, with an additional 600 jobs in the local supply chain, generating over £21.5 million in wages annually. Whilst it is acknowledged there may be some overlap with existing restaurants and businesses in the wider area, it is expected a significant proportion of the turnover is new business. It will not detract trade from Gateshead Town Centre, but will benefit it. Each element of the scheme, the arena, conference facility, the hotels, public realm and the retail and leisure units have been carefully considered to make best use of the site's unique characteristics while seeking to integrate and complement surrounding uses. The site is allocated for leisure, conference facilities and hotel use under policy QB2 of your strategy.
You're in your last meeting now, minute now, okay?
Thank you, Chair.
Your last minute.
Of your core strategy and design criteria is set out in your recently approved Gateshead Quays framework. It is clear that our proposals accord with relevant local plan and national policy. I strongly endorse the officer recommendations and conditions set out in the report and request that this committee approves the recommendations as set out. Subject to endorsement by the planning case unit, we would seek to commence development of this iconic scheme early in 2021. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Lynn, you had a question, didn't you, in Coffrey?
I did, Chair, thank you. Mr. Ems, I think we all believe that this area is ripe for development and we do want the Gateshead Quays to be developed. That was why some of us were quite dismayed when we saw that the CGI images that you'd produced actually describe it as the Newcastle Gateshead Quays. Now, I'm sure that people who have allegiances to Newcastle and perhaps even used to work in Newcastle might feel that they had an allegiance to Newcastle. But this is Gateshead. If you want Gateshead Planning Committee to actually grant your application, maybe you should seriously think about, even if you decided to call it the Gateshead Newcastle Quays, it would be slightly better. But I think you just need to think about Salford Quays. It isn't called Manchester Salford Quays. It isn't called Salford Manchester Quays. It's actually called Salford Quays, and it's one of the most successful developments in the country of that kind. So I think that we would ask you, we would ask the developers through you to actually consider how this is going to be branded. And if we are going to give it planning permission, we can be very sure that it is an iconic Gateshead development. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just to come back on that point, appreciate concerns raised by a councillor. It's something that has been carefully thought through the design iterations. As your officer made reference to, effectively the branding is an advert, so we can actually pick that up later through the effectively application process for that advert. And I'm sure we'll take away the comments made by members of the committee today in terms of the consideration of that naming at that point in time.
Kaylin?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we should look forward to developments.
Thank you. I think Keith Wood, did you have a question for the speaker, the applicant?
No, Chair, I didn't.
Oh, somebody's got a Catherine Ferdinand, sorry. Oh, Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to go over everything Lynn said, but I do agree with what you said. And this is not Gateshead councillors being high-handed. I used to be on the Board of Trustees at the Baltic Gateshead, and even some of the senior staff there used to call it the Baltic Newcastle. And it's an icon. The buildings, as you realise, are icons. It's part of our identity of Gateshead, and we're really proud of that. So it's just to say it is important to us.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Any further questions of the applicant, the speaker? Any further questions? Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't have a question, Chair. What I would like to do is I'd like to propose that we'll move, that we grant the officer application to grant the application. Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved. Is that seconded?
Chair?
Second that
Chair?
one, Chair.
Hang on.
Sorry.
Before we go to that stage, do we have an opportunity to go back to the officers with regards to some of the issues
do,
raised
yeah.
by the objector?
We can still take a motion, yeah. Okay, so is that seconded?
Yeah, I'll be happy to second it, Chair.
It's been moved and seconded that the officer recommendation be granted. Okay, Keith?
Yeah, I would just like to ask the officers a question with regards to what the objector raised with regards to the hours of use, and I didn't pick up that within the report. Obviously, it clearly states out that there are certain sections during the day where the arena conference centre will be used, and obviously the numbers will be likely to increase depending on what the event is on. But I was just wondering, is there a condition on the hours of use?
If I can answer that, Chair?
Yeah.
There isn't. Obviously, that there are other licensing regulations that cover the operation of a music venue or an events venue. So it's been considered that it would be better suited to the licensing process to control the opening hours. It's anticipated that the venue would stop all concerts at the latest at 11 o'clock at night, but that's under licensing processes rather than the planning process. There are conditions relating to the hours of operation of the servicing areas, and those will be tightly controlled to ensure that it protects the amenity of the residents.
Okay, Chair.
Okay, any further questions? No? Nobody? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. The officer recommendation be granted. We need we'll need to vote by either saying grant or refuse. And Helen, are you ready?
I'm ready, Chair.
When Helen asks the question, you're either grant or refuse. Helen, can I just mention that Councillor Burnett's had to go to the doctors? Just
Yes,
as a message.
I've got that noted down, Chair.
Okay, have you got that? Okay, then thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Councillor Caffrey? You're on mute, Councillor Caffrey.
Sorry, technology. Grant.
Thank you. Councillor Dickey?
Grant.
Thank you. Councillor Ferdinand?
Grant.
Councillor Geddes?
Grant.
Thank you. Councillor Hall?
Grant.
Councillor Curtin?
Grant.
Councillor Lee?
Grant.
Councillor McCartney?
Grant.
Councillor Oxbury?
Grant.
Councillor Turnbull?
Grant.
Councillor Watt? Councillor Watt?
Move on, Helen, we'll come back.
Councillor Wheeler?
Grant.
Councillor Wood?
Grant.
Councillor Anderson?
Grant.
Councillor McClure?
Grant.
Councillor Patterson?
Grant.
Councillor Hood?
Grant.
Councillor Goldsworthy?
Grant. Do you want
Thank
to
you.
go back to
That's
Councillor Waugh?
unanimous, Chair.
Do you want to go back to Councillor Waugh, Ellen?
Councillor Waugh?
It's showing that he's left the meeting in the chat.
Okay, he's left the meeting. Okay, it's in the chat. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay then. Thank you, members. The application's been granted and that's unanimously. Okay. Thank you for your attendance, members. Have a nice day. Thank you. Thank you to the officers as well. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Chair.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Right, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.